Rabbit is the most efficient meat animal on Earth. More protein per kilogram of feed than beef, more meat per square foot than chicken, faster to breed than any livestock you can name, and it is almost completely lean, which sounds perfect. Which sounds like the answer to every food crisis humans have ever faced. So, why don't you eat it? Not just you. Almost no one eats it. Entire countries have access to it and choose not to. And here is the part that will stop you cold. The few times in history when people were forced to eat only rabbit meat, they died. Not from starvation, from eating. There is a condition with a name. Scientists and explorers and Native Americans all documented it. And when you understand what it does to the human body, you will never look at the word efficient the same way again. Stay until the end, because the last part of this story is not about rabbits at all. It is about the way modern life keeps selling you the same trap. In a different package. Let's start with the numbers, because the numbers are genuinely shocking. To produce 1 kilogram of beef, a cow needs roughly 8 kilograms of feed. 1 kilogram of pork needs about 3. Chicken is better, around 2 kilograms of feed per kilogram of meat. But rabbit. Rabbit needs just over 1 kilogram of feed to produce 1 kilogram of meat, almost a perfect conversion. They reproduce every 30 days. A single pair can produce up to 50 offspring in a year. They take up almost no space. They eat grass, hay, vegetable scraps, things other animals won't touch. On paper, rabbit is the perfect food source. Every food scientist who has run these numbers has come to the same conclusion. If humans switched even a fraction of their beef consumption to rabbit, we could feed hundreds of millions more people. So why didn't we? Why doesn't your grocery store have a rabbit aisle? Why do you picture it as a pet before you picture it as a meal? That is the first layer of this story. And it is stranger than you think. Go back about 10,000 years. Early agricultural humans were choosing which animals to domesticate. Cows, pigs, sheep, goats, chickens. These animals had something in common. They produced more than just meat. Cows gave milk. Sheep gave wool. Chickens gave eggs every single day whether you ate them or not. These animals were multi-purpose machines. They earned their keep even before they were slaughtered. Rabbits gave only meat, and because humans in the ancient world were investing months of food and labor into raising animals, they needed animals that gave something back along the way. A rabbit just sat there eating until it was ready to be eaten. That was useful, but not useful enough to dominate. And so rabbit stayed on the edges. A wild animal you hunted when you were desperate. A backup food. A survival food. And here is where the story gets dark, because survival foods have a way of revealing the limits of survival itself. Imagine you are an explorer. The year is the early 1900s. You are deep in the Canadian Arctic. It is winter. The temperature is -40. There is no supply route behind you. And the only animal available for miles in every direction is the Arctic hare. You are a trained expedition member. You know how to hunt. You catch rabbits every day. You eat them every day. And at first you feel fine. But then, after a few weeks, something happens. You start to feel hungry. Not ordinary hungry. Ravenously, desperately hungry, even though you have just eaten. Your stomach is full, but your body is screaming. Then the headaches start. Then the weakness, then something that looks like nausea but doesn't go away. And if no one rescues you, you will die. Not from the cold, not from starvation, you will die from eating rabbit. Every single day. This condition was documented across Arctic explorers, Native American tribes, and European settlers across North America. They all described the same thing. They all gave it a name. Rabbit starvation. Here is what is actually happening inside your body. Rabbit meat is almost completely protein. It has almost zero fat. And that sounds healthy. But it is not, because your body cannot run on pure protein alone. When you eat protein, your liver has to convert it into energy. That process is called gluconeogenesis, and it requires fat. Without fat in your diet, the protein conversion process floods your system with ammonia and urea. These are toxic byproducts. Your kidneys go into overdrive trying to flush them out. And they cannot keep up. Your body starts breaking down its own tissue to find the fat it needs. You enter a state of starvation even though your stomach is full. Dr. Vilhjalmur Stefansson documented this in the early 1900s. He was an Arctic explorer who lived for extended periods with indigenous communities. He wrote in detail about watching men eat rabbit until they were physically sick from it. He called it one of the strangest things he had ever witnessed. A man surrounded by food, dying of starvation. The Native American tribes of the Northern Plains had known this for generations. They warned settlers explicitly. Do not eat rabbit alone. Mix it with fat. Mix it with marrow. Or do not eat it at all. The settlers who listened survived. The settlers who didn't thought they knew better. They were wrong. So rabbit meat has a hidden flaw. A flaw that has nothing to do with taste. A flaw that is wired into basic human biology. And here is the part that fascinates researchers. Your body knows. Before you even understand what rabbit starvation is, your body is already avoiding it. Studies in food psychology have documented that people who are given only lean, very low-fat meat, even without knowing what it is, begin craving fatty foods within days. Not because they are weak, because the body is running a calculation you are not even aware of. It detects the absence of dietary fat. It sends a distress signal, and that distress signal comes out as an overwhelming craving for butter, cheese, oil, anything rich. Your ancient instinct for survival is still running in the background. Every single day. You just don't notice it because you live in a world where fat is everywhere. But rabbit starvation is only part of the story. Because even after humans learned to mix rabbit with fat, rabbit still didn't go mainstream. Something else was keeping it off the table, and this part of the story is about culture, not biology. In Europe during the Middle Ages, rabbit was a status food. It was kept in enclosed warrens on the estates of the wealthy. Common people were not allowed to hunt them. That created a strange cultural association. Rabbit meat became connected to either luxury or to desperation. You were either rich enough to own a warren or poor enough to be poaching one illegally. The middle ground, the everyday farmer eating rabbit like they ate chicken, almost never existed. And then something shifted in the 19th century. Rabbit became popular as a pet, first in England, then across Europe and North America. Breeding shows began. People began selecting rabbits for color and size. They gave them names. They brought them inside. And once an animal becomes a pet, the cultural barrier against eating it becomes almost impossible to break. Researchers call this the pet effect. It is the same mechanism that makes most Westerners horrified at the idea of eating dog or horse. It is not logic. It is emotion. And emotion beats efficiency every single time. There is a study worth knowing here. Paul Rozin at the University of Pennsylvania, one of the world's leading researchers on food disgust, has spent decades studying why people refuse to eat nutritious, safe food. He found that disgust is not about danger, it is about identity. What you eat is part of who you are. And eating something that your culture has classified as a companion, a pet, something with a name and a face, triggers a deep psychological rejection. Not just, I don't want to, more like, that would make me a different person than I am. Rozin called it the law of sympathetic magic. The idea that an animal that has been loved transfers that love to its meat, and the meat becomes untouchable, not because of nutrition, not because of taste, but because of what eating it would mean about you. So now you have the full picture. Rabbit is biologically dangerous when eaten alone. Rabbit is culturally coded as either a luxury or a pet. And rabbit carries a deep psychological taboo in most Western cultures. But here is what makes this story about more than rabbits. Think about everything humans have ever labeled the most efficient option, the cleanest energy source that no one scaled, the cheapest food that nobody chose, the simplest solution that sat ignored while complicated ones got funding. History is full of them, and in almost every case, the reason efficiency lost is the same. Humans do not optimize for logic. They optimize for meaning, for feeling, for identity. You don't eat rabbit because a part of your brain, ancient and stubborn and completely outside your conscious control, has already decided what kind of person eats rabbit. And that decision was made long before you were born. It was made by culture, by history, by the families who came before you and what they kept in a cage versus what they kept on a plate. And that is the part that should stay with you. Not the rabbit, not the numbers. The next time something efficient, obvious, and logical doesn't catch on in your diet, in your life, in your decisions, it is probably not stupidity. It is not ignorance. It is this: the invisible weight of what something means. The body calculating things the mind never sees. The culture deciding before you even get a choice. We have always been this way. Long before grocery stores, long before factory farms, long before any of us ever chose what to eat. we were already choosing who we wanted to be. And sometimes, the most efficient answer is the one we were never going to pick.
Thanks for watching. What animal should we cover our next video? Let me know in the comments. Thanks.